I'm literally strong enough to one-shot an immortal emperor with a single slap, yet here I am, stuck playing blacksmith in this rundown little shop. Everyone thinks I'm just an ordinary mortal, but little do they know, the rusty tongs I use to grab coal are actually the ancient heaven-slaying sword. Even that ugly black rock propping up the table leg is a piece of realm-suppressing meteor iron, the kind of treasure that could trigger a bloody war across 10,000 worlds. And all this, just because I, a transmigrator, can only unseal my true power by taking in disciples. Fast forward to now, I'm already past the 1000th stage of chi condensation. But I still haven't managed to recruit a single student. So, to keep a low profile and make a living, I had to open up this little blacksmith shop. The god-tier forging materials I get from my daily logins are literally piling up like mountains. I have no choice but to treat them like scrap metal and casually hammer out some farming tools, just to enjoy some peace and quiet. That was, until today. The system in my head that's been playing dead finally showed some signs of life. Ding! Detected a top-tier target nearby who perfectly matches the criteria for a disciple. Please take action immediately, host. The second I heard that notification, I dropped my hammer instantly and eagerly scanned my surroundings. My eyes immediately locked onto a 16 or 17-year-old girl. She was wearing a striking red dress, with a longsword slung across her back, and her aura was as cold as a block of ice. The sect disciples passing by stared at her so hard their eyes practically popped out of their sockets. They were drooling enough to fill a fish pond, but she acted completely oblivious to it all, just minding her own business and walking straight ahead. I hurriedly pulled up the system panel. Holy crap, reincarnation of the 9 Nether Mystic Maiden. Those words almost blinded me. I didn't hesitate for another second. I sprinted right over to her and blocked her path. Get out of my way. Why are you blocking me? Hold on a second, miss. I can see that you've got incredible potential, and I'd love to take you in as my disciple. What do you say? Her mouth twitched. She looked at me like I was a total idiot. Then, she let out a sudden laugh. A laugh that felt as sharp as an ice blade, slashing right at my face. You, a lowly blacksmith with absolutely zero spiritual energy? Before I could even process the burn, she was already walking away. I shouted at the top of my lungs at her back, if you change your mind, come find me anytime. All I got in return was a distant, cold scoff. If she had been at her absolute peak, I'd probably be frozen into a human popsicle by now. Staring at her fading silhouette, I grabbed my hair in absolute frustration. Ugh, rejected on my very first attempt to recruit a disciple. This is practically a hell mode start. I smacked my forehead hard. Wait, of course, I look like nothing more than an ordinary blacksmith. Just running my mouth. Who would ever believe me? I should have just whipped out my heaven-slaying sword from the start. Too bad that by the time I realized my mistake, that girl in the red dress was long gone. After stewing over it all afternoon, I decided to head to the Sky Profound Sect's recruitment ceremony and try my luck there. Bright and early the next morning, I made my way to the sect's main plaza. And wow, there was a massive sea of young cultivators, packing the place so tight you couldn't even squeeze a needle through. I squinted, scanning through the dense crowd, and quickly locked onto that familiar girl in the red dress. Since the entrance exams hadn't started yet, I practically skipped over to her side. Hey there, miss, must be destiny, huh? We meet again, still obsessing over taking me as your disciple? She asked. Of course, look, as long as you become my student, I promise you'll hit the absolute jackpot. Leng Qingqiu's face instantly turned as cold as frost. I already made myself crystal clear to you. Besides, you're nowhere near qualified. Ouch. I was just about to pull out a god-tier cultivation manual and flex it right in her face. But hearing that, the wind was completely knocked out of my sails. Well, if that's how you feel, then just forget it. Saying that, I turned on my heel and walked away. I couldn't be bothered to waste another breath on her. Leng Qingqiu just watched me leave, a mocking smirk playing on her lips. She was the mighty 9 Nether Fairy, after all. Who in the world was even worthy of being her master? She only joined the heavenly mystic sect to get her hands on some cultivation resources. By the time my bumpy ox cart ride finally dropped me back at the blacksmith shop, a 7 or 8-year-old girl ran out to greet me. Her name was Su Yao. I found her freezing in the snow outside my shop 2 years ago. The system told me she was destined to be my top disciple. But the time just wasn't right yet. Su Yao noticed my long face, and she patted over cautiously. Brother Fan, what's wrong? It's nothing. just ran into some annoying nonsense. Hearing that, the little girl immediately scurried inside and brought me a steaming cup of tea. Her sweetness made me chuckle right away, and all my frustration just melted away. I was lounging back in my rocking chair by the door, soaking in the sun, when suddenly, the thick metallic stench of blood hit me like a truck. I snapped my eyes open, only to see a teenager in black standing right in front of me. "Boss, I need a sword." The kid was as pale as a ghost, with a fresh trail of blood trickling from his mouth. Just as I was about to get up, the system in my head chimed in. Ding, suitable disciple candidate detected. I froze instantly, eyeing the bruised kid in black with a skeptical look. He seemed to notice me staring, and somehow managed to force out a weak smile that looked worse than crying. Inside, I was absolutely doing backflips. I thought I'd have to wait another 3 years. I can't believe one just walked right up to my doorstep. The system panel popped up automatically, laying out all of the kid's stats loud and clear. Keeping a perfectly straight face, I grabbed a rusty iron sword and handed it to him. The boy took it, tossed me some coins, and turned to leave. "Hey, hold on a second," I quickly called out to him. "I'd say it must be fate that brought us together. Why don't you sit down and have some tea?" The kid hesitated for a moment, then gave a bitter smile and nodded. After all, carrying a massive blood feud, he really had nowhere else to go anyway. "Yower, come out here for a second." The little girl, who was busy stoking the fire, instantly chirped back. Coming. In the blink of an eye, she popped out, casually carrying a massive, solid wood tea table with just one hand. The teenager's eyes widened in sheer disbelief. That table had to weigh at least 200 pounds, and this tiny girl was lugging it around like it was nothing. I was totally used to it by now, though. When I first took Su Yao in, I realized the kid had terrifyingly superhuman strength. She tossed around 100-pound iron blocks like they were beanbags. "We're not drinking the cheap stuff today, brother fan?" Su Yao tilted her head, peering curiously at the teen in black. "We have a guest today. Let's brew the good stuff." Seeing how close Su Yao and I were, a whole wave of complicated emotions washed over the boy's eyes. He grabbed his teacup and chugged it down, his Adam's apple bobbing with every swallow. As he drank, tears suddenly started streaming down his face, mixing right into the tea. Once he had finally calmed down a bit, I handed him a raggedy towel. "Feeling a little better now?" The kid wiped his face, his voice still thick and sniffly. "I'm so sorry, you had to see me like that." I just waved it off. Everyone's got a little heartbreak, especially someone like you, burdened with a bitter blood feud. All alone, the boy had been looking so lost and lonely. But hearing those words, his whole body suddenly stiffened. The teacup shattered on the floor with a loud smash. He jumped to his feet, his right hand gripping tightly onto that rusty sword hilt. "Who the hell are you?" His guard was instantly up. A complete stranger, a blacksmith, not only invites him in for tea, but also knows about his blood feud. Thinking about this, he whipped out his iron sword and pointed it right at me. Seeing this, Su Yao immediately stepped in front of me. "Don't you dare bully my brother fan." I didn't panic at all, though. I just slowly exposed his little secrets. Chu Feng, a cultivator in the qi condensation realm. With every word I said, the boy's sword trembled a little more. "If I wanted to hurt you, do you really think I'd bother inviting you for tea?" I chuckled, casually pulling Su Yao back behind me. "Your potential isn't bad. Are you interested in taking me as your master?" Chu Feng's eyes went wide, and the tip of his sword slowly lowered. He honestly couldn't feel a single trace of spiritual energy coming from me. But I knew him inside out. I even knew about what happened just 3 days ago. The tragic massacre of his entire family. "You want to teach me?" His voice was incredibly hoarse, the veins on his sword hand bulging out. Running for his life all this way, he had seen far too many traps. But the guy standing in front of him seemed genuinely different. "So, what do you say?" On the outside, I looked cool as a cucumber. But inside, I was freaking out, terrified this kid would just turn and leave like Leng Qingchu did. "What could you possibly teach me?" Chu Feng asked hesitantly. He couldn't help but wonder, what if this was actually a once-in-a-lifetime miracle? After all, the legends do talk about peerless masters hiding out in ordinary towns. If I really had what it takes, taking me as a master wouldn't be the worst idea. But out of nowhere, I completely shifted gears. "Let me get a good look at that sword." Hearing this, Chu Feng frowned, but he still handed the sword over to me. I took it, gave it a lazy glance, and sighed. What a piece of trash. The moment the words left my mouth, there was a loud snap. I crushed that iron sword, forged from solid steel, into absolute pieces using just 2 fingers. Chu Feng was completely dumbfounded. That was a top-tier steel sword, and I just crushed it with my bare hands like it was nothing. I dusted the iron shavings off my fingers. But, he tried to say something. Probably worried his enemies would drag me down too. I just cut him right off. You're a grown man, stop overthinking it. From today onward, your enemies are my enemies. Thud, Chu Feng dropped heavily to his knees. He slammed his head against the floor 3 times. This disciple greets his master. Ha ha ha, good boy, come on, get up, get up. A massive weight finally lifted off my shoulders. Congratulations, host, you have successfully recruited a disciple. Cultivation limit partially lifted, reward, invincible diamond body, and unlocked the Eye of Truth, helping my disciple, Chu Feng, activate his special physique, the Nirvana Thunder Body. And it even gifted a god-tier skill called I am a little mushroom. My mouth twitched uncontrollably. System, are you messing with me? I am a little mushroom. What the hell is that supposed to be? Replying to the host, as long as you squat down, hold your head, and shout the incantation. You will enter a state of absolute defense, immune to all magic and attacks. And no attack can lock onto you. Holy crap, this cheat is way too overpowered. Hurry up and get me one too. I was so excited I almost jumped up, but after shouting for a good while, the system didn't respond at all. I was so pissed I started cursing in my head. You dog system, are you playing me? But the next second, I suddenly felt a warm sensation in my eyes. It was over in the blink of an eye though. Su Yao just curled her lips, completely used to my weirdness. Chu Feng, on the other hand, looked shocked and waved his hand in front of my face. Master, you alright? I'm fine, I'm fine. I quickly changed the subject. Since you've officially become my disciple, let your senior sister take you to pick out a few welcoming gifts. When Chu Feng heard about getting cultivation methods and weapons, his eyes instantly lit up, but when he looked around my rundown blacksmith shop, he immediately deflated. What good stuff could possibly be in this dump? But since he had already paid his respects to his master, he had to accept it, no matter how reluctant he felt inside. Wait, I suddenly leaned in, looking all mysterious. Let me teach you a life-saving ultimate move. In the future, if you run into an enemy you can't beat, just immediately squat down, hold your head, and yell, I am a little mushroom. And then, absolutely do not move. Chu Feng was petrified on the spot. What the hell kind of incantation is that? Fighting the urge to flip a table, he bit the bullet and bowed respectfully. Thank you for the technique, master. I happily laid back down on my rocking chair, watching the two of them walk toward the backyard. But as they passed by the furnace, Chu Feng suddenly stared dead at the black stone lining the bottom of the furnace, utterly dumbfounded. That stone, buried right underneath the coal, was actually radiating a faint starlight. You have to understand, even in his family's proudest treasure vault, they couldn't find a piece of this ore the size of a fingernail. Chu Feng's hands were trembling. This is the legendary world-suppressing meteorite iron. He dashed to the furnace in a single bound, staring in disbelief at the red-hot stone. Oh my god, his voice was actually shaking. He pointed at the furnace, shivering all over. When he finally confirmed that it was indeed the divine iron that could trigger a bloody war between sects, his legs gave out, and he dropped straight to his knees. Su Yao tilted her little head, looking at him, like she was watching a madman. What's wrong with this guy? Chu Feng kept his eyes glued to the meteorite iron being used as a simple base stone. He felt like his heart was about to stop. If this thing was tossed out into the open, the entire cultivation world would go crazy fighting over it, and yet, here, it was actually being burned like cheap coal. His temples throbbed violently from the shock, but he didn't dare to actually question me about it. He could only grit his teeth and keep following Su Yao. The moment they pushed open the wooden door to the storage room, Chu Feng's scream almost blew the roof off. The entire room was stuffed with top-tier spiritual weapons, piled up like a mountain of scrap metal. The few weapons right at the top were actually still crackling, sparking with pure lightning. It scared him so badly he dropped to his knees right then and there. Senior sister. He mechanically turned his stiff neck. These are all scrap metal? Su Yao impatiently kicked the pile of broken swords at her feet. What else would they be? What else? If we don't melt these down, are we supposed to actually go mining? Chu Feng almost choked on his own spit. Good lord, melting down top-tier spiritual weapons is scrap metal, and it's actually standard routine. He tremblingly turned over a few weapons by his feet. With every single one he picked up, his pupils contracted violently when he saw a long spear engraved with 9 heavens dragon patterns. He instantly started sweating bullets. His hands holding the spear were shaking like a leaf. Did our master rob the late emperor's armory? Are you done picking? Su Yao kicked the magical treasures scattered all over the floor with her toe. Are we still going to the technique room or not? Chu Feng hugged that dragon pattern spear tightly to his chest, like a mother hen protecting her chicks. But when he turned his head, he saw Su Yao carrying over a dozen glowing golden technique scrolls, walking toward the furnace. It scared him so much he slid to his knees to block her path. Senior sister, you can't move it. Su Yao rolled her eyes. Do you want roast wild rabbit or stewed goose for dinner tonight? As she spoke, whoosh, she stuffed a whole pile of heaven-tier techniques right into the furnace to start the fire. The roaring firelight reflected on Chu Feng's ashen, deathly pale face. The moment the door to the technique room creaked open, Chu Feng's eyes almost popped out of his head. A whole room full of god-tier ultimate skills were plastered on the walls like worthless scrap paper. The most ridiculous part was a lost ancient formation map, actually being used to seal the cracks in the window. He was just scheming whether he should go steal a storage ring overnight to pack it all up. When suddenly, my lazy voice rang out from behind him. What? Dazzled by the choices? My voice startled him so badly he jolted. He frantically bowed in a panic. Master, I don't think you're really suited for using a spear. A lightning element technique suits you quite well, I said, rummaging through the pile of papers like I was digging through a trash dump. Yes, master. Chu Feng nodded respectfully. Honestly, he didn't like using spears either. Heaven knows how painful it was being forced by his family to practice the spear all these years. Every time he swung the spear, it felt as awful as lifting heavy weights. Found it, I suddenly yanked a torn, grease-stained book out of the junk pile. As the sunlight hit it, faint lightning snakes could be seen slithering across its surface. It flashed so brightly Chu Feng couldn't even keep his eyes open. If this thing were put up for auction, it could probably buy half the cultivation world. I casually tossed it over. The moment Chu Feng caught it, he heard a loud boom. And he was smashed flat onto the ground. That book was so heavy it nearly shattered his bones. How is this a secret manual? This is clearly a mountain of lightning. Oh, I forgot to mention. You need to bind it with a drop of blood first. I added slowly, the exact moment he pricked his finger. That torn book suddenly turned into a bolt of lightning and shot straight into his forehead. Master, I feel like I'm invincible. Wake up. I slapped the back of his head. You get cocky just from learning one technique? Do you think you're possessed by the god of thunder? Early the next morning, Chu Feng was busy running in circles inside the blacksmith shop. Amidst the clinking and clanging of the forging, he accidentally caught a glimpse of my room, where a blinding purple light was shooting out through the crack in the door. Driven by curiosity, he sneaked a peek and, oh my god, a whole room full of top-tier spirit stones, just scattered on the floor like worthless pebbles. And the craziest part? A 10,000-year-old demon core was actually being used as a cheap night light, and out of all the rooms in my place, this was the only one that was locked. Chu Feng was just dying to know what was inside. Just as he leaned in for a closer look, I poked my head out the door with epic bedhead. Well, look at that. The sun must be rising in the west. You're up earlier than the roosters. Chu Feng scratched the back of his head with a goofy grin. Master, I cleaned up the yard. I was just about to go wake you up. Well, aren't you a hard-working one? My eyes instantly lit up, like I just hit the jackpot with free labor. Come on. Today, I'm teaching you how to forge iron. But a little while later, he dropped the heavy hammer in absolute shock. Master? Something really weird happened while I was cultivating last night. I somehow shot straight from chi condensation level 1 to level 3. I didn't even bother looking up. Chewing on a pork bun, I mumbled, I just woke up your special physique. No biggie. Chu Feng almost did a spit take with his tea. Woke up, my physique? I said it so casually, like I was just talking about changing my shirt. Chu Feng couldn't hold back anymore. Master, what level of cultivation have you actually reached? I replied with a bun hanging out of my mouth, my words all muffled. Just a mortal. Chu Feng's mouth twitched. He was screaming internally. Master's answer wasn't even a half-decent brush off. Yeah, right? Since when could a normal guy just casually awaken a legendary lightning body for someone? He didn't look like some supreme master at all, but the things he did were definitely not humanly possible. This guy is literally the worst liar ever. Master, I want to go train in the dark forest. I slowly clapped the dust off my hands. Sure, go for it. Just grab 2 wild pheasants on your way back. Then, I casually tossed him a busted burlap sack. We'll stew them with some mushrooms for dinner tonight. I looked so unbelievably chill. You'd think I was sending him to the local market to pick up a cabbage. But hey, personal demons are best conquered with your own 2 hands. That's the only way to grow. I narrowed my eyes and smoothly slipped a butcher knife into the sack too. Chu Feng's eyes lit up instantly. Master, you're really letting me go? I waved him off, pretending to be annoyed. Just hurry back and cook when you're done. The dark forest was only about 100 miles outside our little town. For cultivators, that was basically a quick stroll. But those ancient beasts lurking deep in the woods were absolutely nothing to mess with. Beside an ancient tree, Chu Feng collapsed into a muddy puddle with a heavy splash. He scooped up the freezing water and splashed it hard against his face. Blood mixed with the muddy water, seeping into the grass. Right next to him lay the headless corpse of a gale wolf he'd just slaughtered. These beasts on the outskirts are way too weak. He flicked his wet bangs out of his eyes. He narrowed his eyes, glaring into the depths of the forest. Cultivators are swarming all over this area. It's as crowded as a damn farmer's market. No way I'll find any good loot out here. Gotta push deeper. With a light tap of his foot, he vanished into the dense thicket. A sharp flash of lightning bolted through the dark trees, startling a massive flock of birds into the sky. Chu Feng calmly wiped the blood off his butcher knife. He was already planning to practice that new lightning technique the second he got back. But the moment he left, a pair of young cultivators showed up right behind him. The teenage boy hopped off his flying sword and inspected the dead gale wolf. His pupils instantly shrank in pure terror. What brutal lightning power. One strike and it's dead. The woman in red, Leng Qingchu, nudged the wolf demon's severed head with her foot. Looking completely annoyed, she muttered, "Let's go. There's nothing to see here." "Right away, junior sister." The young man scrambled to his feet. A barely noticeable flash of intense desire crossed his eyes. Before his words even faded, the 2 of them vanished into the woods, and the direction they headed was coincidentally the exact same way Chu Feng had just gone. Su Yao had just finished buying groceries and was skipping her way back home. But my eyes suddenly narrowed. I spotted 2 guys in bamboo hats, sneaking around the front of my blacksmith shop, holding a compass dripping with fresh blood. "Hey, what the heck are you sneaking around for?" I frowned and just yelled straight at the 2 of them. They whipped their heads around in unison. One of them stared intently at the glowing compass in his hands and sneered, "This old geezer reeks of that little punk Chu Feng." Hearing Chu Feng's name, my pupils shrank sharply. My heart skipped a beat. These 2 were definitely enemies of the Chu family. Before I could even react, one of the dark figures dashed right in front of my face. A cold, gleaming curved blade was pressed against my throat. "Old man, where is Chu Feng?" His voice was cold as pure ice. "Don't you dare touch Brother Fan." Seeing this, Su Yao immediately rolled up her sleeves and got ready to charge, her little face red with anger. I quickly grabbed her arm. "Stop, don't be reckless. There are too many eyes in this town." Then, I turned back to the 2 men in black and gave them the most innocent smile I could muster. "Hey now, fellas, no need to rush. I know exactly where Chu Feng is. I'll take you to him right now." The guy in black was clearly taken aback. A mere mortal with 0 spiritual power, facing 2 Foundation establishment experts, and he's this calm? But on second thought, they figured there was no way a rundown village like this could hide any real masters. "Good to see you know your place, old man. Now hurry up and lead the way." Once we reached the barren mountain outside of town, I stopped dead in my tracks. "You guys are here to kill Chu Feng, aren't you? You sure know a lot, don't you?" The guy with the blade pushed up his bamboo hat, revealing a face completely covered in scars. "What, you want to die alongside your precious disciple?" I casually rolled my wrists, a cold smirk creeping onto my lips. "Oh, you think you can take me?" The 2 assassins burst out laughing like it was the funniest joke they had ever heard. "Yes, against a powerless piece of trash like you? Honestly, I was thrilled. I was worried I had the wrong guys at first, but now I had the perfect excuse to rip them apart. A mortal piece of garbage like you actually wants to fight? The man in black sneered in pure disgust. He instantly flared up his protective aura, fully intending to blast me into a mist of blood right then and there. Smack! A sharp, sickening crunch echoed out. Just like squashing a rotten tomato, the assassin's head exploded on the spot. Blood and gore sprayed all over his partner's face. That so-called protective aura tore apart like wet tissue paper. The remaining guy literally wet himself. Trembling in absolute terror, he screamed, "What kind of mortal is this? You're a freaking hidden master." He turned around and scrambled to run for his life. I just spoke, ice cold. Trying to run away after acting all tough? I smirked, and threw another slap right through the air. Boom! A massive 3-meter deep crater was blasted into the ground. That guy in black was embedded at the bottom, completely mangled. I shook my hand out and muttered to myself, the raw power of this indestructible body isn't bad. It just sucks that I can't fly around blasting spells everywhere. Kind of a bummer. I clasped my hands behind my back, and took a slow, leisurely stroll back to town, pondering to myself. That little brat. His enemies are already knocking at our door. Looks like I'll need to crank up his training. Meanwhile, Chu Feng had just slaughtered a pack of black armored boars, and was standing there drenched in blood, counting his loot. Level 5 of Qi condensation. He marveled, feeling the surging power of lightning coursing through his veins. He couldn't help but click his tongue. The cultivation technique master gave me is seriously overpowered. He was just debating whether to hack down a few more beasts before heading back to report, when he suddenly noticed a massive crowd of cultivators all sprinting madly in the same direction. He grabbed a random Qi condensation guy passing by. "Hey, what's going on up ahead?" A mystic tier spirit fruit just appeared. The guy originally wanted to curse him out, but the second he saw Chu Feng dripping with blood and killing intent, he chickened out completely. A mystic tier spirit fruit? Chu Feng's eyes instantly lit up. He shoved his monster loot into a sack and dove straight into the crowd. Perfect, I can bring master some nice after dinner fruit. It didn't take long for Chu Feng to squeeze his way right to the very front. Perched on the edge of the cliff was a glowing, 9-color fruit that stood out like a sore thumb. His eyes widened in awe, but strangely enough, even though the cliff was absolutely packed with cultivators, not a single soul dared to step up and grab it. Chu Feng held back, knowing better than to act rashly. Any idiot knew that a treasure of this level definitely had a terrifying guardian beast lurking nearby. He scanned the crowd, noticing that most of them were just low-level Qi condensation rookies. There were barely even any foundation building masters around. Should we make a move? The male cultivator standing next to Leng Qingchu rubbed his hands together, asking eagerly. What's the rush? Let's see what kind of guardian beast we're dealing with first. Leng Qingchu narrowed her eyes. On the surface, she looked completely unfazed. Deep down, she was thrilled, even though the Heavenly Mystic Sect had plenty of mystic tier treasures. This 9-color phantom fruit was crucial to her. It was exactly what she needed to stabilize her newly awakened mystic maiden bloodline. Top-tier spirit fruits like this only appeared once in a century. That girl in red looks a bit familiar. Chu Feng caught a glimpse of Leng Qingchu from the corner of his eye. He couldn't help but take a second look. Leng Qingchu must have felt his gaze, because she turned around with an icy glare when she saw a measly Qi condensation rogue cultivator staring at her. She couldn't help but frown. Where did this filthy peasant come from? How dare you stare at my junior sister? Junior sister, do you want me to go gouge his eyes out? No need. Leng Qingchu gave a subtle, cold smirk. We'll just use him to scout ahead later. He'll make perfect cannon fodder. Crack. The male cultivator cracked his knuckles until they turned white, glaring at Chu Feng with pure malice. He had been chasing this goddess for so long. Today, he absolutely had to show off in front of her. Suddenly, a thunderous, explosive roar echoed out, making everyone jump out of their skin. A massive, mountain-like shadow lunged up from beneath the cliff. When they looked closer, it was actually a red-gold lightning bear, covered in crackling electricity, giving off the terrifying aura of the late Foundation establishment stage. How the hell are we supposed to fight this? Right then and there, people got so scared they just turned and bolted. While everyone was ready to slip away, Leng Qingchu just narrowed her eyes, sizing up the giant bear. Even though she was only at the early Foundation establishment stage, A flash of utter contempt crossed her eyes. In her eyes, a late-stage demonic beast like this was nothing more than a brainless brute. After all, she was the reincarnation of the mystic maiden. She had more than enough tricks up her sleeve to completely toy with this beast until it dropped. Not bad at all. This bear paw is definitely gonna be super nourishing. My master will absolutely love this. But his eyes were glued to that fruit, trying to figure out how to snatch up both the fruit and the bear in one clean sweep. The giant bear let out another furious roar, shaking the cliff and forcing the crowd to stumble backwards. It was clearly trying to use its fierce aura to scare off these uninvited guests. It had been guarding this spirit fruit for 10 whole years. There was no way it would just hand it over. Junior sister, let me go take down this giant bear for you. The male cultivator was practically bursting with confidence. This was the perfect chance to show off his godly skills right in front of his junior sister. He thought to himself, he was the absolute #1 genius of the Sky Mystic Sect's outer sect, after all. Taking out enemies above his level was like taking candy from a baby. Handling a mere stupid bear? Piece of cake. Leng Qingchu just gave a cold, faint nod. Then I'll leave it to you, senior brother. Her tone was completely flat, but the moment senior brother Zhao heard that, he got completely pumped up. Gripping his longsword, he charged forward in a frenzy of excitement. Boom, crash, right at the edge of the cliff. The man and the beast slammed into each other in a flash. But as the crowd watched, things started looking seriously wrong. Senior brother Zhao was getting pushed back, step by painful step. His proudest sword techniques slashed against the bear's thick hide, but couldn't even slice off a single hair. Wait, aren't I #1 in the outer sect? Why the hell can't I break this monster's defense? I'm taking you down with me. Caught between panic and rage, he roared with bloodshot eyes. But in the very next second, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the entire valley. Junior sister, save me. Senior brother Zhao looked absolutely pathetic. Even his treasured sword was shattered to pieces by a single slap from the giant bear. Leng Qingchu remained completely expressionless, not showing the slightest intention of stepping in to help. It was as if she was just watching a stray dog meet its end. The sounds of slaughter by the cliff came to a sudden halt. Senior brother Zhao's agonizing screams were cut completely short. The cultivators standing near Chu Feng turned as pale as ghosts. But Chu Feng just shifted his gaze back to Leng Qingchu, his eyebrows knitting tightly together in a deep frown. Just a moment ago, he thought this woman had a stunning, icy charm. Now, he just found her absolutely sickening. Her heart was just way too venomous. Even while facing the terrified stares of the crowd, Leng Qingchu's face remained as cold as a block of ice. Because in her eyes, if a useless simp like him gets wiped out, so be it. How could trash like that ever be mentioned in the same breath as her, the reincarnated mystic maiden? Having tasted blood, the lightning bear suddenly tipped its head back and let out a deafening roar. It went on all fours and charged madly right at the crowd. The cultivators instantly broke into total chaos, scrambling away faster than startled rabbits. Amidst the sheer panic, only Leng Qingchu and Chu Feng stood their ground. Then, with a sharp whoosh, the two of them bolted at the exact same time, but their target wasn't the lightning bear at all. They were heading straight for that 9-color spirit fruit by the cliff. Leng Qingchu's pupils suddenly shrank in shock. How on earth was this rogue cultivator kid's lightning movement so fast? But she was still the reincarnated mystic maiden. A crimson lotus flashed beneath her feet, and her speed instantly skyrocketed. Both of them pushed their skills to the absolute limit. They were just inches away from grabbing the fruit. But the crazed lightning bear sensed something was wrong. It dropped its prey and lunged frantically back towards the cliff. Right at the exact split second their fingertips were about to brush against the fruit, a massive, lightning-wrapped paw came crashing down. It slammed down like a falling mountain, instantly kicking up a massive gale. The shockwave sent rubble flying off the cliff. The lightning bear's massive, bloodthirsty jaws were right in his face. But Leng Qingchu suddenly whipped around and retreated. Chu Feng froze for a second. Then his face completely darkened. What a sneaky way to use the beast to kill him. A mocking smirk crept onto Leng Qingchu's face. Although this body was only 17 years old, her soul belonged to a ruthless monster who had lived for 1,000 years. Chu Feng's pathetic speed was nothing to her. She had it all figured out. The lightning bear couldn't care less about who was who. Roaring furiously, it swiped massive claws right at Chu Feng. He frantically threw up his rusty butcher knife to block. That piece of scrap metal even made a flash of absolute contempt cross the bear's eyes. Then, a streak of black light flashed by. The expected sound of shattering bones never came. Instead, it sliced through like a hot knife through butter. The massive bear looked down at its completely severed right paw. The beast was absolutely stunned. A split second later, a blood-curdling roar echoed through the entire valley. The agonizing pain drove it totally berserk, but it wised up real quick. It stopped trying to tank the hits with its physical body. Lightning exploded from its fur, forming countless electrical spears that shot straight at Chu Feng. The boy ducked and weaved through the storm of lightning, spinning his butcher knife so fast it formed an airtight shield. The second those incoming lightning spears touched the blade, they shattered into harmless sparks of light. But the craziest part? The blade was actually absorbing the lightning bear's electrical power. The massive bear was totally panicking now. It suddenly whipped its head around, lunging straight for the 9-color spirit fruit. If I can't win, I'll destroy it. Man, this beast was absolutely ruthless. Chu Feng instantly turned into a blur of lightning and bolted after it. Stop right there. Leng Qingchu finally dropped her cool, aloof act too. Her longsword unleashed a massive wave of red lotus sword aura that slashed forward. Two terrifying attacks crossed paths in the air. The giant bear didn't even have time to let out a dying scream. Crashed heavily to the ground, but neither of them spared a single glance at the dead beast. Both of their hands lunged for the spirit fruit at the exact same time. A deadly cold light flashed in Leng Qingchu's eyes. She abruptly twisted her blade midair, thrusting it directly at Chu Feng's throat. But the moment the butcher knife clashed with her sword, that priceless, earth-tier weapon in Leng Qingchu's hands got a massive chunk instantly chipped right out of it. The reincarnated mystic maiden completely lost her composure. Her eyes were wide open in pure, utter disbelief. That piece of junk butcher knife? Could it actually be a divine weapon? In that split second, Leng Qingchu changed her attack with ghostly speed, forming a profound ice seal with her left hand. She slammed her palm straight at Chu Feng's chest. Yet the boy didn't even try to dodge. His left fist, crackling with furious annihilation purple lightning, met her strike head-on. The instant the fiery lightning exploded, Leng Qingchu was sent flying backwards like a kite with its string cut. She dragged a long trail through the air. Holy crap, is the technique my master taught me really this overpowered? When she crashed heavily into the ground, her face was twisted in absolute, total shock. No way, that's impossible. Leng Qingchu dragged herself up, her hair a complete, disheveled mess. She didn't look anything like a fairy anymore. Gritting her teeth, she looked exactly like a desperate gambler who had just lost absolutely everything. Chu Feng couldn't even be bothered to roll his eyes at her. He just bent down and ripped the fruit and its tree straight out by the roots. Put that down, that's mine. But the boy just shoved the whole tree into his sack. He turned on his heel and walked off. From behind him came Leng Qingchu's furious, exasperated cursing. But he didn't even pause for a single second. Leng Qingchu slowly, unsteadily forced herself up. Her messy hair whipped in the wind as every drop of color instantly drained from her face. Yet, a terrifying aura of extreme cold erupted from her entire body. Chu Feng whipped his head around. His pupils instantly shrank. This crazy woman is actually burning her lifeblood essence, forcing out a secret technique from her past life. A terrifying blast of frost exploded outward. Leng Qingchu's aura skyrocketed instantly, hitting the very edge of the golden core realm. The surrounding grass and trees froze into solid ice sculptures in a flash, and an eerie, deep blue light flickered in her eyes. Going all out, huh? Chu Feng narrowed his eyes. Forcing out your past life's power, aren't you afraid the backlash will kill you? Leng Qingchu wiped a streak of blood from her mouth and let out a cold sneer. This little bit of backlash is nothing. Hand over the spirit fruit, kneel down and become my battle slave, and I might just spare your pathetic life. Chu Feng actually laughed at her sheer audacity. HMPH, does this thing have your name written on it? You think a fake golden core makes you a badass? He rolled his wrists, cracking his knuckles. Bring it on. Let's see just how many of my blade strikes you can actually take. The moment the words left his mouth, Leng Qingchu appeared right in front of him like a ghost. A massive storm of ice spikes rained down, aiming straight for his vital spots. Today, she was absolutely going to nail this ignorant, rogue cultivator to the ground. Clang, clash, clang. Just as his butcher knife danced in a wild frenzy, a violent burst of purple lightning exploded from Chu Feng's body. Leng Qingchu was sent flying like a broken ragdoll once again, smashing through 3 massive ancient trees before she finally skidded to a halt. Chu Feng was also forced back over a dozen steps, the shockwave ripping the skin between his thumb and index finger wide open. Blood poured down his hand. The obliteration lightning body? Leng Qingchu coughed up chunks of bloody ice as she scrambled to her feet, that arrogant sneer on her face finally replaced by pure shock. Chu Feng flicked the blood off his hand and let out a cold chuckle. At least you're not completely blind. But even special physiques have their own ranking system. Leng Qingchu's tone suddenly shifted, becoming deceptively tempting. Come back to the heavenly profound sect with me. I can teach you the ultimate lightning techniques. She wiped the blood from her lip. Her eyes burned with a manic intensity. I guarantee it'll be 10,000 times better than whatever you're blindly fumbling with right now. Chu Feng couldn't help but laugh at the sheer absurdity. HMPH, my master could toss me some random, battered old book, and it would still be leagues better than whatever trash your sect guards with its life. You frog in a well. Leng Qingchu cut him off with absolute disgust. In my past life, this venerable one was, oh, would you just shut up? Chu Feng spun on his heel and started walking away. If you spout one more word of that garbage, I swear I'll drain you dry with this butcher knife. He had absolutely zero patience left for this crazy woman. You better think this through. Getting guidance from this venerable one is a blessing you couldn't earn in 8 lifetimes. She ground her teeth together, her voice shaking with barely contained rage. Watching Chu Feng stroll further and further away with his sack, without even glancing back. Leng Qingchu finally dropped the haughty act, stomping her feet in sheer panic. That spirit fruit is incredibly important to me. And why the hell should I care? Chu Feng just waved his hand dismissively without looking back. What's your name? Leng Qingchu suddenly went quiet, a flash of malicious calculation gleaming in her eyes. Even though the spirit fruit was precious, it wasn't worth throwing away a life over. Chu Feng completely ignored her. But suddenly, his ears twitched. What is that noise? Suddenly, the ground beneath them began to shake violently. An earth-shattering beastly roar echoed from the distance. The sheer force of the sound wave whipped up a gale that nearly blew the two of them away. Leng Qingchu's face drained of color. A golden core realm great demon? How could such a terrifying monstrosity be roaming the outer edges? Through the dust, they saw it. A massive purple-winged lightning lion, towering over them like a small mountain. It charged out of the woods, its golden eyes blazing with absolute fury. Catching the overwhelming stench of blood in its territory, it threw its head back and unleashed a deafening roar. A massive surge of lightning erupted, instantly turning the surrounding trees to pure dust. Oh, man, I'm done for. Chu Feng's back was instantly drenched in cold sweat. Did we just kick a literal hornet's nest of lightning? Leng Qingchu had already quietly backed up a dozen steps. Suddenly, she crushed a survival talisman, and her figure vanished into a streak of bloody light. Appearing hundreds of feet away, Chu Feng screamed at the top of his lungs, "You backstabbing witch! You sold me out!" He watched helplessly as the Thunder Lion's massive claw, carrying the crushing weight of 1,000 thunderstorms, smashed right toward his head. He squeezed his eyes shut in total despair. This is it, my life ends right here. But right at that do-or-die moment, his master's incredibly punchable face suddenly popped right into his head. Chu Feng gritted his teeth. Screw it, he fiercely tossed aside his butcher knife. And in a flash, threw his hands over his head and squatted down on the ground. He screamed at the top of his lungs, "I am a little mushroom." Boom, the Thunder Lion's giant paw grazed right past his scalp, and smashed viciously into the ground next to him, blowing open a massive crater over 40 feet deep. Dirt and crackling lightning blasted everywhere, peeking through his fingers at the massive boulders flying through the air. Chu Feng gulped hard. Holy crap, this weird-ass spell actually works. The Thunder Lion stared blankly at its own claws. Refusing to believe it, it wound up and blasted down another roaring bolt of lightning. But ridiculously, the terrifying lightning pillar acted like it just hit a rubber wall, perfectly curving right around the squatting Chu Feng every single time, slamming harmlessly into the empty dirt. Ha ha ha, Master is the absolute greatest. Chu Feng almost squealed out loud like a pig. This skill is way more broken than wearing high-tier armor. The Thunder Lion was completely losing its mind now. It started hurling every world-destroying ultimate attack at Chu Feng like they were on a fire sale. The earth shattered and the mountains shook, completely leveling miles upon miles of land in an instant. After raging for an entire hour, the massive beast was so exhausted its tongue was literally hanging out. It stared at Chu Feng like it had just seen an actual ghost. "You done throwing your tantrum?" Chu Feng asked carefully, scooting backward while keeping his hands glued to his head. "I'm just gonna sneak right past you, okay?" Whoosh! The thunder lion's tail whipped toward him like a vicious crack of a whip. "I am a little mushroom." Boom! Another poor little hill got totally demolished. The thunder lion finally learned its lesson, too. It just gave up, flopped onto the ground, and glared relentlessly at this weirdo squatting in the dirt. So, man and beast just sat there in a bizarre staring contest, wasting time from the dead of night all the way until sunrise. Chu Feng was cursing up a storm in his head. This stubborn jerk. Is it really planning to stare me down until the end of time? They glared at each other so hard their eyeballs were about to pop out. Chu Feng's legs were completely numb now. He was screaming on the inside. What the heck is wrong with this overgrown furball? That crazy lady in red is the one who pissed you off. Why do I have to be the one squatting here pretending to be a freaking mushroom? He gritted his teeth at the thunder lion. Come on, where is the logic here? I wasn't even the one who offed your buddy. Just thinking about that woman who bolted faster than a stray dog made Chu Feng grind his back teeth so hard they almost shattered. But the thunder lion just ignored his rambling. Those massive, spotlight-sized eyes just stayed totally locked onto Chu Feng. Chu Feng clamped his jaw. Screw this, let's go. Before the words even left his mouth, he sprang to his feet and bolted like mad toward the edge of the forest. Boom! A blinding pillar of lightning struck down, literally scorching the back of his heels and slamming into the dirt, scaring Chu Feng so badly he slammed on the brakes. Hugging his head, he squatted back down. I'm just a little mushroom. It was absolute magic, watching another devastating lightning strike miss its mark completely. Chu Feng grinned from ear to ear. He was scared out of his wits last night, only knowing to squat frozen in place. Now, as long as he didn't feel awkward, the awkwardness was all on the monster. What followed was like playing a game of Super Mario. Chu Feng would run a couple of steps, then squat down to play mushroom. The thunder lion's attacks miraculously missed every single time. Seeing him about to bolt out of the forest's edge, the thunder lion behind him roared in utter frustration. What, you want to come back to the blacksmith shop and hammer some iron with your daddy? Chu Feng stood right on the forest boundary, smirking and slapping his own butt at the beast. Roar! The thunder lion's razor-sharp claws gouged 3 deep trenches into the earth. It hesitated, unsure if it should chase him out. But suddenly, from deep within the woods, came an incredibly heavy, echoing sigh. The hairs on the back of Chu Feng's neck stood straight up. The sound wasn't even that loud, yet it made his heart feel like it was being crushed in the iron grip of a freezing, giant hand. The thunder lion let out a terrified whimper, tucked its tail between its legs, and bolted back into the woods without looking back. Chu Feng rejoiced. Time to bounce. I'm out of here. He greased his heels and sprinted down the mountain like his life depended on it. Only when he saw the chimney of the town's blacksmith shop in the distance did he finally dare to gasp for air. Rubbing his fiercely growling stomach, he dove straight into the courtyard. This kid Chu Feng is finally back. My eyes instantly lit up. I saw him lugging a heavy sack. Master, your disciple brought you back some local souvenirs. Not bad at all. I rubbed my hands together in sheer excitement. That's Lin Fan's good disciple for you. Just look at this. These bare paws are absolutely loaded with collagen. Chu Feng hurriedly chimed in. Master, I even uprooted that glowing tree and hauled it all the way back for you. I nodded with deep satisfaction. With this scorching weather we're having, it'll be perfect to plant in the yard for some shade. Later, in the dead of night, Chu Feng sat cross-legged in the woodshed, cultivating. His experience bar was skyrocketing like crazy. He shot straight from the 5th tier of spirit chi to the early foundation establishment stage. Terrified, he quickly stopped his breathwork. The cultivation method in this battered book is way too ridiculous. I have to ask Master about it tomorrow. But the second he lay down, a bizarre, piercing sword hum exploded right in his ear. Chu Feng jolted upright, his back instantly drenched in a cold sweat. That sword resonance carried a soul-piercing magic, paralyzing his entire body. He couldn't move a muscle. In absolute horror, he watched as his own body moved completely out of his control, walking straight toward the storage room. Chu Feng desperately tried to scream for help, but his throat felt like it had been welded shut. He couldn't force a single word out. Every hair on his body stood straight up. He stared in absolute despair as his feet took step after dreadful step. When he finally realized that he was heading straight for the room secured with 3 heavy locks, his pupils shrank to pinpricks. Did a peerless sword master sneak into the blacksmith shop? But on second thought, with a hidden master like mine holding down the fort, who'd be stupid enough to come looking for death? What made his blood run truly cold was that terrifying, haunting sword resonance was clearly coming from inside that locked room. He struggled frantically, fighting to claw back control of his own body. But the invisible force held him as firmly as 10,000 piercing arrows. Meanwhile, I was sprawled out on my bed, sleeping like a baby. A trail of drool hung from the corner of my mouth. I was probably dreaming about an endless mountain of snacks. Su Yao, who had been trembling under her covers like a leaf, finally couldn't take it anymore. She burst into my room, grabbed my arm, and shook me frantically. "Brother Fan, wake up, please, wake up." That broken wooden box is howling like a ghost again. I groggily rubbed my eyes. What's all that racket in the middle of the night? Su Yao's little face was deathly pale. "It's the sword box in that locked room of yours. Just listen." I jolted awake and sat straight up, pricking up my ears to listen closely. Sure enough, there was a sharp, piercing buzzing sound. My face instantly turned as black as the bottom of a pot. "Son of a bitch, wasn't using you to chop wood last time enough of a lesson? How dare you interrupt my sweet dreams?" I kicked the room door open in a fit of rage, bumping right into Chu Feng, who looked like he was sleepwalking. "Master." Chu Feng crashed right into my arms. Grabbing onto me like a lifesaver, he scrambled and crawled, throwing himself at my feet. "Master, there's something in that room. It took control of my body. This is absolute rebellion." I rolled up my sleeves right then and there and pulled out the key. Su Yao and Chu Feng were so scared they hid behind me, trembling like leaves. I kicked the door wide open with one foot, only to see a bronze-colored, battered sword box standing all alone in the middle of the room. That creepy sword whale also stopped dead in its tracks. "Scream, why aren't you screaming anymore? Keep going." I lifted my leg and unleashed a furious barrage of kicks on the sword box. The loud banging shook the entire room. Chu Feng watched from the side, his eyes wide in absolute shock. He probably never expected his profound, unfathomable master to be acting like a street thug right now. The weirdest part was that sword box actually wobbled back and forth, looking completely wrong. But no matter how hard I kicked it, it didn't dare make a single peep. "If you dare play ghost in the middle of the night again, believe it or not, I will throw you into the outhouse to suppress you." Cursing under my breath, I locked the door again, yawning as I went back to catch up on my sleep. Chu Feng was still standing there, questioning his entire existence, while Su Yao looked completely unfazed. She let out a little yawn and went back to her room too, leaving only the ancient, ominous sword with a sword spirit inside the box, huddling miserably in the corner. It had just caught the scent of a top-tier supreme physique and wanted a couple of sniffs, okay? At the crack of dawn, Chu Feng quietly got up, getting ready to light the fire and forge some iron. When he passed by that locked room, he looked like he wanted to glue himself to the opposite wall. The psychological trauma from last night was just too huge. Even though he had 10,000 questions in his head, he also understood that his master would naturally tell him when the time was right. Sporting a messy bird's nest of hair, I yawned and stumbled into the courtyard. Su Yao trailed behind me with dark panda rings under her eyes. I figured this girl must have been scared out of her wits last night. She's still completely spaced out even now. "Morning, master." Chu Feng had already briskly set out the bowls and chopsticks. The bear paw soup in the pot was bubbling with a rich, savory aroma. Having a disciple waiting on you is simply amazing. I took a joyful sip of the soup. Then, I suddenly remembered something. "Oh, right, yesterday, 2 guys in black with curved blades tried to mess with you. I casually smashed them into meat paste." Clack! Chu Feng's chopsticks dropped onto the table, his fists clenching so hard they cracked. But the moment he looked up and saw my caring gaze, he forcefully choked back that surge of murderous intent. Chu Feng's voice was a bit hoarse. "This disciple has caused master trouble again. Oh, cut the fake formalities. I tossed a piece of bare meat into his bowl. If a master doesn't protect his own disciple, what's the point? Saving you for the new year? I watched as the kid's Adam's apple bobbed up and down. He buried his head, shoveling rice into his mouth. The kid's Adam's apple bobbed again. He kept his head down, aggressively shoving rice into his mouth, seemingly trying to hide his red-rimmed eyes. It took him forever before he finally mumbled, "Master, my cultivation is progressing so fast. Won't my foundation be unstable? What if I go completely mad from cultivation? That right there is the Titan Thunder physique, a true thunder transformation. Just go wild with it." I waved my hand dismissively, my mouth completely covered in grease. But just cultivating is useless. Some other day, I'll take you out to wipe out their entire lair. Just for some practice, I said, as I pulled out the 9-color primordial fruit, tossing it to him like it was just an ordinary apple. He tried to refuse, but I swatted his hand away in annoyance. "Keep it for dessert. This thing doesn't even have the kick of a cheap bottle of liquor for me." After dinner, that girl Su Yao actually had the guts to go skipping around right in front of the swordmaster's door. It made Chu Feng's eyelids twitch wildly, while I just lay back leisurely at the door, soaking up the sun. Watching my disciple bustling about forging iron, I happily calculated in my head. Should I whip up a couple of side dishes for tonight? Ding! Please sign for your delivery immediately, host. I sprang up like a startled carp. I was just wondering why there wasn't a single soul on the street. Suddenly, there was a massive boom. Dust flew up everywhere, covering the sky. I stared dumbfounded at the giant crater that had just been smashed right into the blacksmith shop's courtyard. At the bottom of the pit lay a girl, completely covered in blood. I muttered to myself, "This system's delivery method is way too hardcore, isn't it? A literal airdrop?" Cough, cough. The girl struggled to lift her head. Seeing the three of us crowded around the edge of the pit, she quickly drew a broken sword. Even though she couldn't even stand steady, her eyes were as fierce as a cornered little leopard. "What do you want?" Seeing the girl looking so weak that she could collapse at any second, Chu Feng spoke up, "Master, should I go pour her a glass of water?" I quickly shot Su Yao a look. "Yao Yao, go help her inside." Su Yao totally got the hint, hopped into the pit, and hauled her up with just one hand. The girl's pupils shrank in shock, and she started sizing me up with a very strange look. "Stop glaring so hard, just sit." I casually dragged an iron stool over to her, smiling warmly like a friendly neighbor. The girl, named Mu Shui, hesitated for a second, but still muttered a thanks. However, her grip on that broken sword only grew tighter. Looks like she was insanely on guard. Chu Feng brought the water out. Mu Shui took the chipped tea mug, gripping it so hard her knuckles turned white. But she didn't take a single sip. I half-jokingly asked her, "So, kiddo, how did you end up falling right out of the sky? Were you flying on a sword, without a valid license?" Mu Shui scoffed coldly. I was ambushed by my senior sect sister. I immediately put on an act, looking all around us. She coldly spoke up again, "Stop looking. The people hunting me down have already been left 100 miles behind." It turns out this girl was named Mu Shui. She used to be the top prodigy of the Azure Cloud Sword sect. But then, the sect master's daughter teamed up with outsiders, ripped out her innate sword bone, and sent assassins to hunt her down non-stop. This time, she barely managed to escape with her life, but because her injuries were just too severe. Her spiritual power completely ran out, and she plummeted right out of the sky. The cultivation world is seriously messed up, I sighed to myself. That's right, the system had already spilled the beans on everything about this girl, all the way back to her ancestors from 18 generations ago. "Miss Mu, how about taking me as your master?" I suddenly blurted out in the heat of the moment, dramatically tossing the gross rag I was using to wipe my sweat. It startled Chu Feng so badly he dropped his teapot. Su Yao, on the other hand, had stars in her eyes. "I'm finally getting a junior sister." Mu Shui, however, jolted in shock, staring at me in total disbelief. "How did you know my last name is Mu? Look, just tell me, are you gonna become my disciple or not?" I asked again with a grin on my face. I watched as Mu Shui clenched her hands so hard her nails nearly pierced her skin. She was probably tearing her hair out trying to figure out how a mortal blacksmith like me could possibly know her dark secrets, let alone have a disciple at the early foundation establishment stage waiting on me hand and foot. "My master is absolutely incredible, you know." Chu Feng eagerly chimed in from the sidelines. His fanboy energy really stroked my ego. Finally, Mu Shui gave a slow nod. I guess she figured her sword bone was already destroyed, so she had nothing left to lose. Taking anyone as a master wouldn't make a difference. Alright, from this day forward, you are the third disciple of Lin Fan. I pointed cheerfully at Su Yao and Chu Feng. This is your eldest senior sister, and your second senior brother. Mu Shui formally knelt and performed the disciple's bow. But when she looked up and locked eyes with Su Yao, she clearly froze for a second. She couldn't believe such a tiny kid was the eldest senior sister. Nice to meet you, junior sister. Su Yao greeted her, clasping her hands behind her back trying to look like a wise elder. That cute little act cracked the rest of us up. Well, in the cultivation world, power is everything. Who cares how old you are? I told Su Yao to take Mu Shui to wash up. The words had barely left my mouth before the little tyke excitedly dragged her towards the house. Acting like she just found a shiny new toy. Ding! Congratulations, host, on acquiring your third disciple. Reward: 1 grand gift pack. Item 1. Invincible Diamond Physique has been upgraded to the Indestructible Chaos Physique. Item 2. Absolute Defense Skill successfully unlocked. Item 3. Mu Shui receives the 9-turn Nirvana Swordbone. And unlocks the ultimate broken skill. Back. I stared at the flashing golden system panel and frowned. Indestructible Chaos Physique? Sounds pretty badass, I guess. But absolute defense? Isn't that a little too low profile? I decided to test it, chanting silently in my head. Absolute defense? Oh, come on, not even a single glowing shield popped up around me. It was exactly like absolutely nothing had happened at all. I couldn't help but wonder. Is this some kind of cheap knockoff? System, get out here right now. What the hell does this skill even do? Ding, absolute defense is a passive skill. It does not need to be activated. It ignores all elemental and cosmic laws of the universe, grants complete immunity to all damage, and reflects 100% of physical impacts. Oh ho? Okay, that actually sounds pretty damn overpowered. Then what the heck is my disciple Mu Shui's back skill? Ding. By simply placing both hands on her hips, taking one step forward with her left foot, and shouting, back, 3 consecutive times, she will generate an invincible aura. This will force any form of attack or enemy to be violently knocked back 10 miles away, completely ignoring any difference in power levels. So it's basically a forced knockback skill? Man, this system is just throwing random garbage at us now. And it comes with the vibe of an angry auntie yelling at the grocery store. Just as I was silently mocking the system, I saw a freshly washed Mu Shui push the door open and step out. The girl who was covered in blood just moments ago was now dressed in simple, rough linen clothing, but it still couldn't hide her naturally cold and elegant aura. Just standing there, she looked like a walking, breathing iceberg. I swear the temperature in the courtyard literally dropped a few degrees. I looked at the completely refreshed Mu Shui and asked her a question. Taking in her new look, I asked, "How are you feeling right now? Oh, by the way, I casually reattached your sword bone for you." Mu Shui clearly froze in pure shock. Beside her, Chu Feng was practically jumping up and down with excitement. "Junior sister, hurry up and test it. The fortunes our master gives out are ridiculously overpowered." I watched as Mu Shui closed her eyes, clearly still half in disbelief. Suddenly, her entire body trembled, and a terrifying, sky-piercing sword intent erupted from her very core, shooting straight up into the heavens. My lost sword bone, it's actually back, and it's even stronger than before. She snapped her head up, looking at me like she'd just seen a ghost. I just waved it off like it was nothing. Just the basics, no need to make a fuss, I said. Here, let me teach you a life-saving trick. When you're in danger, put your hands on your hips, take a step forward with your left foot, and shout 3 times, back off, back off, back off. Mu Shui was absolutely dumbfounded. For once, her eternal Ice Queen facade actually cracked. That kid Chu Feng, on the other hand, was rubbing his hands together in pure excitement. "Master, I want to spar with junior sister. Just to test out these new skills. Let's go," I said, waving my hand grandly. I led the 3 of them straight to the backyard. As we passed by that locked room, I noticed Mu Shui sneaking a few curious glances at the room where the swordsman was staying. Once we hit the backyard, Chu Feng immediately struck a dramatic fighting pose. "Come at me with everything you've got, junior sister." Mu Shui looked over at me, clearly hesitant. Only after I gave her an encouraging nod did she let out a fierce battle cry. "Forgive me, senior brother." And before the words even left her mouth, she was already nothing but a phantom blur, launching herself straight at Chu Feng. Could tell she was holding back, probably terrified of seriously hurting her goofy second senior brother. But out of nowhere, Chu Feng just completely dropped into a squat. He grabbed his head and screamed at the top of his lungs, "I am a little mush." Then he instantly curled up into a tight, unmoving ball. I just facepalmed and let out a heavy sigh. This idiot disciple was using all the god-tier skills I taught him just to goof off. Meanwhile, Mu Shui didn't slow her charge, but right as her sword fingers were about to graze his clothes, that razor-sharp sword aura took the weirdest, most unnatural detour. Boom! It blasted a crater over a foot deep right into the dirt. Rubble flew everywhere, barely scraping Chu Feng's pant legs. What the heck? Refusing to believe it, Mu Shui lunged with another strike. This time, she pumped even more spiritual energy into it, but her sword aura acted like it hit the wrong end of a magnet, and physically snapped into a perfect 90-degree turn right in front of her face, slicing clean through a massive tree nearby. Chu Feng was still squatted on the ground, shaking like a leaf. "Junior sister, tell your senior brother. Is my invincible mushroom shield awesome or what?" I stroked my chin, absolutely loving the show. I couldn't help but think, this skill was literally grabbing the laws of physics and rubbing their face in the dirt. Su Yao was clapping her heart out on the sidelines, her eyes lighting up like a kid who just found a shiny new toy. My turn. Chu Feng scrambled up, aggressively cracking his knuckles. "Come on, junior sister. Bust out that back-off ultimate move of yours." I saw the tips of Mu Shui's ears instantly flush beet red. Her mouth opened and closed. That incredibly embarrassing pose, that absolutely ridiculous chant. How was an elegant ice queen like her supposed to actually do that? She shot me a desperate, pleading look, but I just flashed a wicked grin and yelled over to Chu Feng, "I highly recommend you hit her with absolutely everything you've got." I could see a visible shiver run down Chu Feng's spine, but there was no turning back now. He took a deep breath, sinking his energy, and his whole body erupted in blinding lightning. His fist, packed with the furious power of a thunderstorm, aimed right for Mu Shui's face. "Back off, back off, back off." Pushed to the absolute limit, Mu Shui snapped. She squeezed her eyes shut, slapped her hands onto her hips, stomped her left foot forward, and screamed at the top of her lungs. Her face was so red it looked like it might actually bleed. And then, bang, as we all watched in absolute shock, Chu Feng looked like he'd just been utterly flattened by a high-speed spiritual bullet train. He went flying backward 10 times faster than he charged in, tracing a flawless, majestic parabola through the air. He rocketed straight past the town limits until you couldn't even see a speck of his shadow. The courtyard instantly fell dead silent, with only the howling of the wind. Su Yao's jaw dropped wide open. A half-eaten cucumber slipped right out of her hand and hit the ground. Mu Shui just stared blankly at her own hands. Her eyes were completely wide with disbelief. I gulped down hard. "You call that a freaking chicken leg? That's a straight-up human cannon right there." It took a whole hour before Chu Feng finally came sprinting back from outside the town, completely covered in dirt. He looked at Mu Shui with absolute awe. "Junior sister, that move of yours was absolutely brutal. I swear I was about to meet my maker just now." Mu Shui's face flushed bright red. She quickly lowered her head and whispered, "I am so sorry." I burst out laughing. "Ha ha ha, from now on, that's gonna be our blacksmith shop's signature move. You all trained really well today. Tonight, we're feasting on roasted bear paws." Over the next few days, the blacksmith shop settled back into its usual, peaceful routine. Every morning, I would take Chu Feng out to forge some iron. Su Yao handled the cooking, while Mu Shui chopped firewood out in the courtyard. I say chopping wood, but honestly, that busted old axe I gave her for the job? It's actually a fragment of the ancient heaven-splitting axe. Every single time she swung it, she was secretly tempering her Nirvana 9-turn sword bone. At first, the poor girl felt super wronged about it. A grand, genius sword cultivator, reduced to chopping firewood every single day. But the moment she realized her inner spiritual energy had become several times purer than before, and that her sword bone was actually glowing with a faint golden light, oh, she started chopping that wood harder than anyone else. She wouldn't even sleep at night. She was one step away from chopping every piece of wood in the yard into literal toothpicks. Then, one afternoon, Chu Feng was by the furnace, shirtless and hammering away at the iron. Sweat was just pouring down his solid muscles. Meanwhile, I was chilling on a recliner right next to him, sipping on some freshly brewed spirit tea from Su Yao. Man, life was good. But suddenly, bam, the heavy wooden door of the blacksmith shop was kicked wide open. The whole door panel came flying right into the yard and smashed straight into the anvil. Sparks flew everywhere. I immediately frowned, and sat straight up. Who the hell has zero manners? Who dares to smash my freaking door? I yelled. Looking up, I saw a few people in cyan Taoist robes standing right at the entrance. The leader was this middle-aged guy with a ratty, sunken face, radiating the heavy pressure of a golden core stage expert. Trailing right behind him was a young woman, her chin tilted so high it was practically pointing at the sky. She was dressed in entirely flashy, luxurious clothes, gripping a glowing, shimmering sword in her hand. One look at this whole setup, and I just knew trouble had arrived. The exact second Mu Shui locked eyes with that woman, she stopped chopping wood dead in her tracks. Through heavily gritted teeth, she spat out a single name. Ru Yan. So, this was her. The junior sect master of the Azure Cloud Sword sect. The very same bitch who gouged out Mu Shui's sword bone. This so-called Lu Ruyan slowly dragged a disgusted, sneering look across our rundown courtyard. Her eyes finally landed right on Mu Shui. She covered her mouth and let out a snobby, high-pitched laugh. Ha ha ha. I kept wondering where you managed to scurry off to. Turns out, you've been hiding in this reeking, filthy little blacksmith shop. Playing the little servant girl, huh, junior sister Mu Shui? Life without your precious sword bone must be just miserable, isn't it? Mu Shui was shaking uncontrollably with absolute rage. She gripped that busted axe, ready to charge right at her. But Chu Feng quickly yanked her back, throwing himself firmly in front of her to protect her. He grabbed his freshly forged, glowing red-hot hammer, glaring at them. Who the hell are you people? How dare you come causing trouble on my master's turf? The middle-aged man let out a cold, arrogant snort. Measly little mortal blacksmith shop, and you actually dare to run your mouth? I am the enforcer elder of the Azure Cloud Sword sect. I am here today to arrest our sect's traitor, Mu Shui. If you know what's good for you, you'll hand her over right now. Otherwise, I'll flatten this whole pathetic shack to the ground. I couldn't help but laugh when I heard that. Slowly standing up from my recliner, I dusted myself off. The Azure Cloud Sword sect? Never heard of him, but once you step through the doors of my blacksmith shop, you become one of my people. You guys barged in and smashed my door. So, who's paying for the damages? The law enforcement elder acted like he just heard the funniest joke in the world. A lowly mortal ant with zero spiritual power actually has the guts to ask a golden core cultivator for door money? His eyes turned dead cold. With a casual wave of his hand, he fired a deadly burst of sword kai straight at my face. You're courting death. Chu Feng turned pale with fright. Master, look out. Without a second thought, he jumped right in front of me. He wrapped his arms around his head and instantly squatted down. That wave of sword kai, powerful enough to chop a mortal in half, smashed into an invisible barrier 1 foot away from Chu Feng, disappearing like a clay ox sinking into the ocean. It didn't even make a single ripple, instantly vanishing without a trace. The group standing opposite us was completely dumbfounded. Lu Rian's eyes went wide. How is that even possible? Elder Wang's furious strike didn't even leave a scratch on this kid's clothes? Elder Wang was also staring in sheer disbelief. He was a majestic golden core cultivator. How could his fierce sword kai be completely neutralized by such a bizarre posture? Still squatting on the floor, Chu Feng looked up and gave them a cheeky grin. Is that it? That wouldn't even tickle me. Elder Wang flew into a humiliating rage. He drew the longsword from his back. You dare play tricks on me? Go to hell. His entire body transformed into a streak of azure sword light as he thrust straight toward Chu Feng. This was the ultimate technique of the Azure Cloud Sword sect. The soaring azure cloud. The momentum of the sword was like a raging rainbow, completely unavoidable. That kid Chu Feng clearly knew how powerful this move was, but he stubbornly refused to dodge. He just stayed crouched down, clutching his head for dear life. With a deafening boom, the tip of the sword accurately struck the space just above Chu Feng's head. But then, a terrifyingly bizarre scene unfolded. Elder Wang felt as if his sword had just slammed into an unshakable, divine mountain. A massive recoil force surged back down the blade. With a sharp crack, his incredibly proud, mid-tier Earth-rank spirit sword completely shattered into countless pieces. Elder Wong sprayed a huge mouthful of blood and went flying violently backward. He crashed right into the doorway, his eyes filled with absolute terror. What kind of dark magic is this? Lu Rian was so terrified the color completely drained from her face. She backed away in a panic, step after step. Chu Feng proudly stood up and dusted the dirt off his butt, looking incredibly smug. It's the invincible mushroom shield taught by my master. Absolutely unrivaled in the whole world. I nodded in satisfaction, even though this kid looked a bit goofy on a normal day. He was actually fiercely protective of his own people when it mattered. Watching this whole scene unfold, Mu Shui couldn't stop the tears from welling up in her eyes. Even though she used to be an absolute genius back at the Azure Cloud Sword sect, people were always scheming against her. No one had ever protected her so fiercely and unconditionally like this. Chu Feng turned his head to look at Lu Rian, his eyes turning dead cold. You dug out my junior sister's sword bone. Since you dared to show your face here today, don't even think about walking out in one piece. Lu Rian forcefully put up a brave front. She shouted sharply, you dare touch me? I am the junior sect master of the Azure Cloud Sword sect. My father is a mighty nascent soul expert. If you dare touch a single hair on my head, the Azure Cloud Sword sect will definitely bury you alive. I casually picked my ear and walked over next to Chu Feng. Snatching that battered iron hammer from his hand, I said, my disciple, why waste your breath on trash like this? If you can throw down, don't bother shouting. Saying that, I weighed the hammer in my hand. Staring down Lu Rian, so your daddy's some big shot nascent soul expert? Is that supposed to impress me? Today, I'll do your old man a favor and teach you some damn manners. Lu Rian watched me, a completely powerless mortal, walking over with a busted iron hammer. A flicker of panic crossed her eyes, but she put on a brave face. Drawing that dazzling, glowing sword. Stay back, this is a heaven-tier spirit sword. I can slaughter a mortal like you with a single thought. I didn't give a damn about her threats, and just casually brought the hammer down. Terrified, Lu Rian raised her sword to block. Clang, a massive shockwave rang out, under the completely stunned gazes of everyone present. That supposedly indestructible heaven-tier sword shattered like cheap, brittle glass. My busted blacksmithing hammer smashed it right into a million flying pieces. And that wasn't all. The force of the hammer didn't even slow down, crashing straight down along her arm. Crack! Lu Rian shrieked in agony, dropping to her knees. Her right arm, the one holding the sword, snapped instantly. Her spiritual energy scattered entirely. The cultivation she was so incredibly proud of was completely obliterated by a single swing of my hammer. The entire courtyard fell dead silent. Elder Wong was sprawled on the ground, shivering uncontrollably, not even daring to breathe. A mortal shattered a heaven-tier sword with one hammer blow, and crippled the young sect master? How the hell is that a mortal? That's a freaking monster. Mu Shui stared at me in absolute shock, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. She had truly believed she'd never get her revenge in this lifetime. But with just one casual swing from her master, the untouchable enemy she once feared was beaten into the dirt. I tossed the hammer over to Chu Feng, and turned to Mu Shui. Go on, finish the rest yourself. Mu Shui took a deep, shaky breath, wiped away her tears, and gripped her broken axe. Step by step, she walked right up to Lu Rian. At this point, Lu Rian had lost every single shred of her arrogant, high and mighty attitude. She scrambled backward in sheer terror. Don't, stay away from me. I'll give your sword bone back. Please, just let me go. Mu Shui's eyes were dead cold. My sword bone has already been reforged by the corpse worms. I wouldn't touch your filthy scraps. It makes me sick. You ripped out my sword bone and destroyed my path of cultivation. So today, I'll shatter your meridians and end your path to immortality. The axe swung down. Lu Rian let out a blood-curdling, pig-like squeal, and was permanently reduced to a total cripple. Seeing how bad things had gotten, Elder Wong tried to awkwardly roll and crawl his way out of the courtyard. I scoffed coldly. Leaving so soon? You haven't paid for the damn door yet. I casually picked up a piece of the splintered door and chucked it. It nailed Elder Wong right in the spine. With a sick thud, he violently coughed up a mouthful of blood and passed out cold. I dusted off my hands, acting as if I'd just taken out the trash. Glancing at Elder Wang and Lu Rian on the ground, I muttered, "Alright, get these eyesores out of my sight." Chu Feng, toss these two losers far away. They're ruining the courtyard's feng shui. Oh, and tomorrow, go to town and buy a new door. I'm taking it out of your food allowance. What, master? I only let the door break because I was trying to protect you. Chu Feng might be whining at the top of his lungs, but his hands were lightning fast. He grabbed them by the collar and tossed them out like dead weight. Mu Shui stood frozen in place, still gripping that broken axe. Staring at Lin Fan's back, he suddenly dropped to both knees. He slammed his forehead against the ground. Master, your kindness is immeasurable. I could never repay you in this lifetime. I turned around and casually pulled him back to his feet. Alright, save the tears. Since you're part of my sect now, there's no need for all that. Instead of crying, go help Su Yao wash the veggies. Smoke rose from the courtyard, carrying the rich, mouth-watering scent of bear paw soup. Su Yao was effortlessly holding an iron pot bigger than herself, yelling toward the door. Brother Fan, time to eat. Not only do we have bear paw stew today, but I also cracked open your prized jar of Woe too. Hey, you little brat, I was saving that for the new year. I grumbled out loud, but my legs were already sprinting toward the house. The warm glow of the sunset washed over the rundown blacksmith shop. Over in the corner of the courtyard, the newly planted fruit tree shimmered with a soft, magical light. I mean, I'm literally strong enough to one-shot an immortal emperor. Yet here I am, playing babysitter to these chaotic disciples in a busted-up blacksmith shop. Everyone thinks I'm just an ordinary mortal. HMPH. Well, so be it. Spending my days forging iron and drinking good booze. I wouldn't trade this life even to be the Emperor of Heaven. Joyful laughter echoed from the four of us inside. Meanwhile, in the locked room at the back, the ancient bronze sword box gave a slight quiver, as if it, too, was enjoying this rare moment of peace. Letting out a soft, satisfied hum,